Yeah. So I'm going to jump over to the poll. This same information will be listed at the top of the poll. So we will have that available for you. Okay. So you see up at the top, again, it says pollev.com/engage1 if you're using your browser, or you will text engage1 to, pardon me, 37607. And we already have some people that are in here and answering.
Having trouble, because you should just be able to start typing A or B or whatever.
And then send.
Is everybody
So
on?
we'll come around and help if anybody's having any issues. And then, in case you can't read it in the back, the responses are A, school administrator, B, teacher, C, paraprofessional, D, specialized instructional support personnel, E, community member, F, parent, G, business leader, H, student, and I, other.
And if you're wondering what those categories are, those are the ones that we're required to gather input from, among others, for according to the requirements of ESSA.
Let's stay a little bit longer on this first one here before we move on to the next one, just so everybody gets a chance to get on and begin answering. Teachers and school administrators looks like. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next question here. So what community type are you a representative for? A, suburban, B, rural, C, urban, or D, other? This was the same results as the first poll from this morning in the assessment office. So looks like we have a lot of rural schools here, which is great. We need you guys' opinion on this, so we're not just getting suburban and urban district information. So what part of Oklahoma are you a representative for? A, northwest, B, northeast, C, southwest, and D, southeast, or E, central? Okay, let's jump on to the next one here. What groups are you a representative for? Now, this is one where you can select multiple. If you are texting, you will select, you can type in A, comma, B, comma, C. Whatever your answers are, you just separated by a comma, and then submit that. And then it will populate multiple answers. So once again, if you can't read these are students with disabilities is A, English language learners is B, higher ed is C, career technology center is D, Indian tribes is E, F is charter schools, early education organizations is G, and H is licensing organizations. So once again, these are groups that we require to collect feedback from under ESSA. Additional results coming in here. I'm going to give it another second or two, and then we're going to hop on to the next one. which I believe begins our fact and fiction. So let's jump on to that. All right, it does begin our fact and fiction. So, fact or fiction, a 90...
Okay, so the fact or fiction idea is that there, in our accountability plan, et cetera, there are options and choices, but there are also requirements. And so basically this is going to get at some of the requirements, and you may not know what's in the new law, so don't be surprised if there's some uncertainty as to what the correct answer is. But we will tell you what the correct answer is.
We will tell you, we'll give you the right answers here.
Yeah.
So the question is, fact or fiction, a 95% participation rate is no longer required under ESSA. And A is fact and B is fiction. Okay, so this is fiction. ESSA requires a 95% participation rate for all students and all subgroups. However, we do now have more flexibility on how we include that participation in our accountability determinations, how that requirement is included. And we're going to be asking you a little bit later on for your opinion on how that should be included.
And we don't have a particular problem with participation rate in this state, but there were several states who received conditions on their Title I money because they did not have 95% of their students participate. So they are getting more...
Sneaky. Okay. So fact or fiction, yeah, somebody, here we go. So fact or fiction, the new accountability system may include an extended year graduation rate. Okay. This is fact. So states may include an extended year, for example, like a 5 or a 6 year graduation rate, in addition to the 4-year grad rate. So the 4-year grad rate's not going anywhere, but there can be an additional measurement for an extended year graduation rate. The only caveat here is that the extended year graduation rate, our goals have to be higher than the 4-year grad rate. The thought being, obviously, that with an extended graduation rate, the rate should be higher for those extended years. So this was done, I believe, or allowed to account for, special ed populations or anybody who just takes a little bit longer to graduate. So, like I said, the overall rate has to be higher for the extended rate. So. And the 4-year grad rate isn't going anywhere. But this is an additional bit of flexibility that will be allowed under ESSA. All right, fact or fiction. Districts are only allowed to give an OAP test to 1% of their student population. Okay, looks like the numbers are staying there for a second. 56% of you are correct. This is fiction. So,
But there's a reason you're confused.
there is a reason you're confused. So here, the 1% cap applies to state level only now. So under ESSA, if a district exceeds the 1%, they are required to give an explanation to the State Department of Ed of why they went over testing 1%. An additional piece of this is that the OAP scores, which previously, if you went over only 1% of the OAP population was allowed to be proficient, scores will no longer be reduced under ESSA. So if they're proficient, they're proficient. There will be no reduction in performance level. However, and this kind of changes more from what we previously looked at as a only 1% could be proficient. It is a 1% can take the test. Only 1% should be attempting this test. And like I said, that again is the accountability is now at the state level. And so the requirement from the state is that if a district goes over 1% testing, an explanation must be required to the State Department of Ed.
Well,
We haven't.
It goes beyond that. We have to provide support to you in understanding how to get to 1%.
Correct.
Because bottom line, there's a tension. We have to, when the state level goes over 1%, we have to apply
Request
for
a waiver.
And that's only going to be good for a year, and then it'll be harder to get. I mean, bottom line is they're moving toward a 1%. We're not far off that at the state level right now. Yeah. And of course, it's not equal because you may have a school in your district that has a population that's much greater than another school in your district. Yeah. So I think removing the cap on a school or district is good, but somehow that tension between the state level and the district level is going to have to be worked out. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll have to work out a way for the submission of those kind of waivers as well. There's a lot to be thought of on that process. So, fact or fiction? When ESSA is fully implemented, there will not be any more school designations.
Does everybody know what a school designation is?
Okay, so school designations are, most of them are for low-performing schools. That would be the focus, priority, targeted intervention. There are the high progress and high performing reward schools as well. But those are what we currently have as designations.
And state law, right.
Correct. Okay, so once again, you guys are correct. This is fiction. The State Department of Ed will still be required to identify low performers and provide them with assistance. However, the titles are changing. What they're called is changed. The feds have decided that priority is now called comprehensive support under ESSA, and focus is now called targeted support under ESSA. So, and I think part of the reason for the name change there is that oftentimes the designations have been seen as a punitive thing given to districts that are scoring poorly. But the thought here is when you're talking about comprehensive support, when you're talking about targeted support, this is support and funding to these districts that are having issues with consistently low performing subgroups. So this is supposed to be support for those groups. It's not meant to be a punitive. You guys are doing poorly. You guys are a focus school. It is really supposed to represent additional support that's required by a school.
Can you read those changes in names again?
Yes. So priority is comprehensive support, and focus is targeted support.
And one thing for this year, we did, so as you know that the accountability, the A through F report cards are going to be coming out for this year. We did receive permission from the United States Department of Ed not to identify any new schools this year. We're looking at transition. So no new schools this year, although if you improve, you can get off the list.
Yeah.
We're not adding to the list. Actually, Oklahoma's been identifying way more than 5% of our schools. And those funds are really to target those schools most in need. So we really need a system that looks at targeting those most in need. So, and we're only required to identify 5%, plus you can get a little bit more than that by the time you add the targeted.
Yes. Okay, moving on here. So this one's kind of a little bit wordy here, but the basic gist of this is that the required academic indicators, and that would be the first 4 of the 5 that was displayed in the initial PowerPoint presentation. So the academic performance, grad rate, other indicator, English language proficiency. So those academic indicators must have a greater combined weight towards the overall grade than the school quality, which was that last one. So is that fact or fiction? Go ahead and shut this door real quick. You're welcome to join. All right. Once again, a large majority of you are definitely correct. This is fact. A school with the lowest rating in one of the academic indicators can't have the same overall grade as a school with the highest rating in all 5 indicators. So fact or fiction, the new accountability system must have a single summative score. For example, A through F or 1 through 4 stars.
And this is one of those areas, the answer to this is based on the current regs, which are out for hearing, and there's a lot of argument about this at the national level.
Yes.
But so the answer is what's currently in the regs.
Yeah. So, and the answer here is that this is a fact. The current proposed federal regulations mandate a single overall summative score, like A, B, C, D, or F, or 1 through 4 stars. So, like Dr. Dunlap said, there has been some pushbacks by states like California who like to show more of a dashboard approach instead of just a single summative score. Right now, we are required to give a single summative score, but that doesn't stop us from showing you that dashboard, from showing you all the different pieces and everything that go into it. Fact or fiction, the minimum number of students for calculating an indicator or comparing test results must be 30 or fewer students. Now, before you answer, let me read this in a slightly different way that will make a little bit more sense. We had some confusion on this one. So the minimum number of students for calculating an indicator or comparing test results must be between 10 and 30 students. All right, this is a fact. The state can have 2 minimum min sizes, one for accountability calculations and one for reporting. So what this means is that we could, if the state set a accountability calculation in size of 10 students, that as long as you had 10 students in the subgroup, a calculation could occur. However, if the reporting in size was set at 20 or 30 or whatever it might be, we wouldn't publicly report any of that information unless they met that secondary in size.
What it really is used for is if, for accountability, you can go up to 30. For reporting, you really can't go below, you can't go below 10 because of privacy.
Correct.
You know, so it's a privacy issue for reporting.
Yeah. Okay, so fact or fiction. When ESSA is fully implemented, OSDE must designate schools every year. Okay. So this is fiction, actually. So
Sort of.
yes. So what this is, schools are identified at least once every 3 years, and may use up to 3 years of data to determine the designation. However, additional targeted support, which is the new focus, schools may be identified on an annual basis based on chronically low performing subgroups. So if you've got some really low performing subgroups for a couple of years, even if you're not in that 3, you haven't been identified in the most recent 3 years, you could still technically get on the list on an annual basis. That will be judged. Correct. All right, fact or fiction. Former ELL students may be included in the ELL subgroup for up to 4 years after exiting the ELL program. So these are the kids that you would be marking as ELL proficient they've exited the ELL program.
is actually a fact. And that is a good thing in many ways, because it means that, number one, you're keeping track of those kids longer, and they often need more support. But number two, it allows your group to show that you've had progress with kids, you've had growth. If you keep them in there for the additional years, you can show that they're still showing growth, and that can be a positive.
Correct. And so that is for accountability purposes only. ESSA allows former ELL students to count for up to 4 years. Currently, through the wave, only 2 years are collected. So that will require an update for collections from districts. Some districts, your student information system does track for years after 2 years. But this will, ESSA now allows them to be included in the ELL subgroup, which is now a portion of the report card as well. So. All right, now we are getting into the opinion questions here. So what we're asking you is, how valuable is mastery of Oklahoma content standards in indicating student progress towards college and career readiness? Now, the first few are going to be talking about college career readiness. Then we're going to move on to some school quality questions, and then we'll keep going from there. So A is not valuable at all, B is slightly valuable, C moderately valuable, D very valuable, and E extremely valuable. Okay, a few more seconds here. How valuable is growth and mastery of Oklahoma content standards in indicating student progress towards college career readiness? Okay, a few more seconds here. Okay. How valuable is graduation with a high school diploma in indicating student progress towards college career readiness? It looks like we had a few not valuable at all. Does anybody want to expand upon the thoughts behind? Okay. If you don't, that's fine. Definitely, one of the last slides we'll display is the accountability email address, which is accountability@sde.ok.gov. So if you want to provide some more feedback, you're definitely welcome. We want to hear from you guys.
It was not valuable at all, but I mean, the question, as I've sat there and pondered it, it depends if you're a standards-based school. If you're standards-based in your production, a grade only indicates that you have probably good work ethic and you know. Does it really indicate that you have knowledge of that subject, or does it indicate you're just a very good student and very pliable in the classroom? So that, to me, that question was very difficult to truly answer without more information in the question.
Okay. Let's hop on to the next one here. How valuable is student attendance in indicating student progress towards college career readiness? Like I said, and if you have any more feedback that you guys want to give, we want everything that we can get from you guys. So we welcome discussion and or emails, especially if you want to go into depth about something and have something that you really want to share with us. We want to hear that. Okay. How valuable is progress towards English language proficiency in indicating student progress towards college career readiness? Okay. How valuable is the completion of advanced coursework in indicating school quality? So here, like I said, we're moving into more of the school quality questions. And be thinking about this, since one of the 5 requirements under ESSA is school quality. Very mixed responses here. Does anybody want to comment? Okay. How valuable is a school's accreditation report in indicating school quality? Okay. How valuable is chronic absenteeism in indicating school quality? Huh. Interesting. Results here are slightly different than some of the results that we've gotten everywhere else. So like I said, this is why it's really important to get feedback from across the state, from everyone. And if anybody, like I said, if anybody has any comments, please feel free to share. Next question, how valuable is school safety in indicating school quality? Okay. In addition to math and reading language arts, which of the following assessments do you think would add value and help predict student progress towards college career readiness? Science, U.S. history, both science and U.S. history, or neither? Okay. A few more results trickling in here. What is the minimum number of students needed to generate usable data on student academic performance? A10, B15, C20, D25, or E30? Okay. Yeah. How should not meeting the 95% participation requirement at a school be reflected in their report card? A, report card lowered a letter grade, which is how we currently do it. B, the report card should display an F on the performance indicator. C, the school should be designated as requiring comprehensive support. Or D, some other option. Now that other option would require USDE approval. So as some of you are answering some other options, be thinking about definitely what that might be. Yeah. And whatever it is, it would have to be approved by them before we could use that. Okay. Would averaging data over up to 3 years for schools that don't meet the minimum number increase the reliability and accuracy of the report card? Okay. Oh, a couple more coming in real quick. Okay. Should there be a different set of accountability requirements for schools in their first year of operation? Les?
You know, you've got people lined all the way down the
Yeah.
hall. I'm not telling you.
I know.
You don't have to rush.
All right. All right. Should there be a different set of accountability requirements for schools that serve only at-risk students? Okay. Should there be a different set of accountability requirements for schools serving grades that do not require testing? For example, a pre-K center or a pre-K 2 center. Okay. Should there be a different set of accountability requirements for schools that do not meet the minimum number of students required to calculate a school accountability report card? So we talked previously and we asked the question about averaging 3 years, but the question here, should there be a different set of requirements for those schools? Okay, which of the following should be used to indicate school quality for high schools? And you can choose multiple here. If you're texting, you separate your answers by a comma. Did you get my sign-in sheets? Okay, good. Okay. Which of the following should be used to indicate school quality for elementary or middle schools? Once again, you can choose all that apply. Okay. And that was the last question. So 2 things really quick. First, here's contact information. If you please send us any feedback that you have And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. The second thing, I will let you know, there is a line already outside this door right here, but there's another door back there that nobody knows about that you can get out and not get stuck.
Okay, but I have a couple of quick comments. If you took these, and we have extras here if you have a colleague that wants one, but be aware of, well, first of all, there's a brief outline in here about what House Bill 3218 requires for accountability. There also are all the test blueprints, and that's what I wanted to point out in grade 10. Somehow in this printed, the ink sort of ran. And so it looks like we now have 80 tests
Yes,
on
definitely.
our grade 10 ELA and math. And actually we do not, that's 60. 60 math. So just be aware that the 6 and 8s look alike. No test is 80 items. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you all. Take this off. Yeah. I'm leading people. There's a second door over there, so I'm leading people to the other door. I know.
There's more in the back.
Yes. All right.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Anybody want
Thank you. Sorry, I hated to rush you, but there.
Yeah, no, I understand. And I mean, literally right on time. I had till 10:55. I mean,
No, we shortened
on
them,
the dot.
remember?
Huh?
Shorten it to 50%.
Did we?
Well, we did in the other place. We can turn the light on now.
Sir, I did what I was told.
Everybody out. I've got the sign-in sheets and the other stuff.
Question.
Okay, that door.
Okay.
I'm gonna just run over this man right here.
In and out door.
Okay, as you go by, there's a handout right here.
Yeah, but apparently.
I guess they're trying to sign in to the original. I having fun today. Really? No, you can do it. You can do it.
I could do it.
I don't know, but we'll get back with you. Did we get everybody in, really?
Yes.
I think at least every, yeah, I think every seat is taken.
We're actually in the overflow. I will do that.
Hi, how are you? No directions. Help yourself. And let me make sure this one down the back.
We're also streaming in.
I'll get the other set. That's math or ELA? ELA. Okay. Stack of them. This is ELA.
are you starting?
No, she is.
Okay. Would you please make sure she puts this on?
Can't you?
I would do it.
I can't do that. I think we need you to wear the mic, Dr. Dunlap.
You've got to do it. You've got to do it. Because we got a whole bunch of people for this one. Usually I wouldn't force you. I'm going to do it right on your tag. It won't hardly hurt.
I've already torn my
Don't
shirt
care.
in 2 places.
You have to put one down. It's okay. I like that. Can you put that on your britches right on the side there?
Not very easily.
You have a pocket?
It's under my, no.
Can we just slide it? No, I don't want to slide it.
Yeah.
No, I don't. No, I don't want to slide it.
I mean, I can lift up my shirt, which isn't supposed to be lifted up, but
If I hook it on here, will that be awful?
we'll see.
Probably go.
I feel like I'm wired.
I know
with
it. I'm sorry.
I'm wired.
What? Hey, girl.
Thank you.
Okay. That means I'll probably need to stand front too so they can see who's talking.
So, kind of the same deal, right?
Right.
Yep. So, you're good to answer assessment questions until curriculum folks come in, and I'm
Absolutely.
here on behalf of Dr. Cox, and I'll do my little spiel, and
Great.
we'll go from there.
So welcome to a session on standards and assessment. And since this is the session before lunch, we want to get started and move along. And so start with this session, the idea of standards and assessments. Started because Dr. Cindy Koss, who is our Deputy for Academic Affairs, and Katie Dunlap, who is the deputy. I am the deputy for standards and assessment, assessment and accountability. But of course, you can't talk about any of those without talking about standards. So Dr. Koss and I started thinking about it, and we thought, you know, Oklahoma's been very confused lately. What standards have you been teaching? What did you teach last year? What did you teach the year before? Some people are still using Common Core or Common Core materials that they bought. Others had passed. Others are just sort of doing whatever they have. There's been a lot of confusion because we've changed it so often. And so it's really time to get consistency and coherence, but really then begin to understand why standards and assessments. Why do we have content standards? Why do we have performance standards? Why do we have these things? And how do they support school improvement? So Cindy is not able to be here today because of a family medical emergency, and Dr. Ellen Dollarhide is going to be here and is going to do her part of the presentation.
Thanks, Dr. Dunlap. Good morning. I'm Ellen Dollarhide. I'm the Executive Director of Quality Schools and School Improvement Planning at the State Department, and that's a long title for special projects. So I'm get to dabble in a lot of different areas, jack of all trades, expert in none. But I know you guys know what it's like. You're educators. Sometimes substitutes are hard to come by, and so we chip in on our planning periods and help each other out. So that's my role today, and I appreciate your patience with me, and we're going to get through some of these slides. So first of all, okay, so you can think about what is classroom teaching when it comes to content. So there are really 3 key areas to teaching content. So you've got standards, curriculum, and assessment. Well, what are standards? Standards are what we teach. Curriculum is how we teach it. Assessment is how we measure how effective we were at teaching the standards to begin with. Okay, so it's really easy for me to stand up here and say, oh, there are 3, nice, neat pieces to this, but you know much better that it's really a fluid process, and it's complex. And so I'd first like to assure you that at the State Department, the Office of Curriculum and Instruction works very closely with the Office of Assessment to work to align standards with curriculum with assessment. So, I'll move to the slides. And maybe do I need to shut off the set of lights?
Yes, the one light, yes, that one.
So what are standards? Okay, let me say this also. I hate coming to a presentation and have someone read the slides to me. But they aren't my slides, so I'm probably going to do a little bit of reading. So learning standards are concise written descriptions of what students are expected to know and be able to do at a specific stage of their education. So there are content standards, performance standards, and proficiency standards. Content are what students should know. Performance are how students will show that they're meeting the standard, and proficiency standards indicate how well students perform. So why are state level standards so important? Do I need to wear the mic, Harry?
No, I'm gonna